Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome to Sofa Reviews. Today we're watching Death Warmed Up, an inexplicable gift from a crazed mother.
Released in 1984, it's a low-budget New Zealand horror movie.
So we start with a 27-year-old pretending to be a schoolboy.
He's Michael and he's running to the hospital to see his dad.
And you can tell he's in a rush because he has to barge through people rather than go round.
He walks into the lab to see his father arguing with Dr. Howell.
Michael's dad seems somewhat worried as it sounds like they've created the T-virus.
This mutation strain is basically still untested. We have no clue where it's leading us. You're going too far.
Dr. Howell spots Michael and decides to attack his father, causing Michael to run off.
Dr. Howell catches up with Michael and somehow convinces him to take a shower.
After watching what is meant to be a schoolboy in the shower for a certain amount of time, Dr. Howell decides to give Michael an injection.
Trust me. It's okay.
I'm just putting something into your bottom against your will in order to satisfy my own desires.
This knocks Michael out and the doctor carries him away.
The doctor then forces Michael to listen to Justin Bieber songs.
We then cut to Michael's mother and father talking about Dr. Howell, who's on TV, saying he will make death obsolete.
A brainwashed Michael interrupts, killing both of his parents and a lamp that he never particularly liked.
Instead of going to prison, Michael is sent to an asylum and locked in a padded cell.
Maybe I should attack the walls. That way they'll know I'm not insane.
We then cut to 7 years later. Michael has been released from the asylum and Dr. Howell has continued his experiments on an isolated island.
Bizarrely, he can afford all this equipment to perform his illegal operations on an isolated island, yet can't afford proper face masks for the nurses.
After seeing the doctor remove a portion of skull from his patient, we then cut to Michael on a boat with his girlfriend Sandy.
And you can tell that he's 7 years older because he looks like a young Rutger Hauer.
They're going on holiday with their friends Lucas and Jeannie, although they're told tourism has dropped lately.
Tourists have dropped right off since they got the open plan.
Open plan?
Yeah, the big psychiatric hospital.
Really? One psychiatric hospital is enough to kill all tourism on the island. Did they build it on top of their only attraction?
After establishing that there are old tunnels on the island, we're then introduced to two weirdos in a van.
I'll have the smell of blonde pussy in the morning.
Personally, I'd be quite worried if you can smell it from there.
Lucas and Jeannie start fooling around in the back of a car before we're introduced to another weirdo.
Have you got your tickets then?
The captain drags him away and we find that he, as well as one of the guys in the van, are having problems.
This is interrupted though when Lucas starts urinating on the van.
They attack Lucas and so we end up with a random and somewhat pointless fight scene.
Michael and Lucas win the skirmish before going back to their car.
They decide to celebrate their needless fighting with some drink driving before the van goes into the back of them.
This time Sandy persuades Michael to drive on rather than get into another fight.
They drive into the town where Michael spots Dr. Howell as he's on his way to visit the town racist.
This scene is over quickly, thankfully, and we move on to see that one of the weirdos from the boat is being treated by Dr. Howell.
Well, he's with the doctor, so I'm sure he'll be fine.
Elsewhere, we cut back to Michael and friends as they explore some abandoned tunnels.
This leads to one of the girls saying possibly the smartest thing I've ever heard in a horror film.
Let's all sit together.
Despite this, they still manage to get split up.
And so the girls get to see the guy being hung, because presumably his head blowing up wasn't guarantee enough that he was dead.
Whoever dropped the body heard the girls scream and sounded the alarms immediately.
The girls manage to reunite with the guys and are then all chased by the two weirdos from the van who are now inexplicably on dirt bikes.
Jeannie gets knocked down and bashes her head, but they manage to get out carrying her with them.
Although this isn't enough for Lucas, who heads back to set up a nice little trap.
Come on, you stupid bastard!
They drive away, but Michael won't agree to leave the island or go to a hospital, as Spider takes his injured friend to see the doctor.
The doctor has no time for this, however, and so expects his assistant to deal with them both.
Spider gets jabbed with something that resembles an electric cattle prod before running off.
He sneaks up on a guy who sat on a chair being bombarded with air freshener.
This allows him to free several other freaks who can help him.
Hey, boys! I want you to do a job for me.
Although they do just walk past him rather than listening to his plan.
Elsewhere we see Michael and friends in a pub where they finally decide to go to hospital.
Listen, kid. We have got an emergency on here. A breakout of psycho patients.
What do you mean a breakout? We've already been attacked.
Holy shit! Not again!
Another breakout? So the guy sat on a chair looking bored was improved security?
The power gets cut and the freaks attack the pub, seeming more like a zombie film at this point.
They attack the pub for a little bit, but get put off when the people inside actually start fighting back.
It goes eerily quiet and the landlord decides to go out and reason with them.
Take it easy, boys. Just take it easy.
Although he ends up being killed by his lack of peripheral vision.
The attack starts again, but the hospital staff show up this time to save the day.
Luckily, they knew that they were in the only pub on the island.
Back at the hospital, the freaks have managed to escape once again.
Escaping the van, Michael leaves the others behind to go looking for Dr. Howell.
We see them looking after Jeannie before they get attacked again.
After promising to never leave her, Lucas immediately abandons Jeannie.
It turns out one of the freaks is in the room with Jeannie.
This actually causes her to snap out of her trance and set the guy on fire, although she spends a bit too long watching this and somehow catches fire herself.
Despite all the chaos going on outside, Dr. Howell continues his surgery.
Michael is taken to Dr. Howell, who decides to show him all the highly illegal work he's been doing.
Of course, Michael isn't interested in any of this and just stabs the doctor.
Michael leaves in time to see Spider killing Lucas.
Instead of fighting, Spider just threatens them and walks away.
I'll get you. I'll get you all.
Later, we see Michael and Sandy driving off. Michael seemingly not too fussed about the death of his two friends as long as he got his revenge.
I did it. I did it.
Michael stops the car when he sees a fire in a police car.
Instead of listening to Sandy and just getting out of there, he decides to go and wander around the wreckage.
It's here that he finally starts to break down, seemingly unhappy with his revenge as an electric cable falls and kills him.
Which left Sandy all alone, so she went to America, changed her name to Sarah Connor, and lived happily ever after.
And so the film ends in a satisfyingly bleak manner. It's nice to see that revenge doesn't actually help Michael and he's still emotionally damaged by the experience.
Yeah, that is quite a refreshing and realistic touch to the whole thing, but then seemingly almost to counteract that, you've got a lot of stupid things. There's a guy whose head just blows up. There's pulsing brains. There's an inexplicably flammable woman. And then, of course, Michael, released with no supervision after a mere 7 years for killing both of his parents.
But it is a horror movie. Some things are going to be exaggerated to enhance the effect. Also, it shows that even with a low budget, you can have great practical effects.
Well, yeah, but the plot seems to be a bit all over the place. There's lots of bits that kind of contradict each other and don't really fit together very well. You've got Michael saying they can't possibly go to the hospital or leave. Next time you see them, they're phoning the hospital for help. The guys show up in their dirt bikes, somehow finding them immediately, even though there's clearly enough tunnels for them to easily get split up and lost. And then, of course, the doctor somehow continuing with his surgery, despite the fact the entire hospital is falling into anarchy.
I guess, but it does show his commitment to his ideas, already demonstrated with him killing Michael's parents. He also shows a lot of resistance to evidence against his ideas, showing his fanaticism.
Yeah, but then at times, for all his well thought out ideas, he also ends up seeming quite stupid. He spots Michael when he's having to fight with the father and just carries on with the fight, then somehow teleports, then manages to convince Michael to have a shower. It really doesn't seem like the kind of really well thought out plan it's meant to be.
We are the generation of the end, and nothing is going to stop me.
At the end of the day, it's a low-budget but surprisingly creepy horror movie, building a better atmosphere than most modern horror movies.
There's something out there, Michael!
Ultimately, it's a fairly dumb, at times racist, jumbled mess of a film that wasn't particularly interesting or scary, and I don't really feel that a low budget is a good enough excuse for having a poor plot.
You bastard! I can't stand the pain!